It was the Calcio Guys Derby weekend this past weekend, and here we are on the Calcio Guys, the three of us, the OGs, Johnny, Adriano, I'm Nicholas. How you guys doing?
Doing good, doing good. Happy to be back.
I'm doing okay.
You're happy to be with us, right?
Always.
Of course. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Listen to us on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Subscribe to us on YouTube. That's how you listen to our podcast. Episode 249. So next week, guys, episode 250. Tomorrow is American Thanksgiving. So, I'm grateful that we're going to hit 250 next week. So, as we like to say in Canada, tomorrow's Thursday, but we got football during the day, so I'm not going to complain. But Gianni, we want to talk about your Derby del Giannini. But first, I do want to talk about Milan-Juve. Okay, that's all I have to say about it. Derby del Giannini next. But no, seriously, what a terrible game. Honestly, I think from both sides, right, Adri? We're both frustrated with our teams playing that one 0-0. I know Milan, Juve, or Juve, Milan. These games, they're not. In recent years, they haven't been the most climactic. There's been a lot of 1-0s. Sure, I think it was 3-0 once Milan won away at Juventus a couple years ago now. I think it was in the Derby, in the Scudetto season. But overall, it's not the most exciting derby on the field, but this game is brutal. It was brutal to watch. And I think this is just, for me as a Juve fan, there's almost a theme that we've seen this season where it's, 0-0, 0-0. We saw it again today against Aston Villa. We'll talk about that later. But it gets to a point. Yes, I know Juve has a ton of injuries and it sucks, but it gets to a point this is not fun to watch. Where's your identity too? I know Monta's coming in. There's a new system, this and that. But guys, this is match week. Match day 13 that just happened. Plus another 4 games in the Champions League, whatever it is, 5 games in the Champions League, 18 games. That's we're almost halfway through the Serie A season. I want to see some results besides 0-0s. And so it's frustrating. There's not a lot to say from the game because I haven't seen the stats, but neither team really created that many chances either, right, Adri? So It's just one of those games. There's not much to talk about.
And it's unfortunate because this is a big matchup. Even if you want to say the results were in recent matchups hasn't been the best, this is still a big matchup. It's 2 top dogs in Serie A going at it. And I guess there was a reason. I don't know. The Serie A script writers knew that it wasn't supposed to be the 2:45 game, and that's why it was at the noon kickoff game here in the East Coast. But it's disappointing. It's a 0-0 draw, but for me it's a loss. Those are 2 points, desperately dropped, especially for Milan, and you know what, even for Juve in that fact, because the race at the top, it's tight. It's a couple of points that separate, from pretty much 1 to 6. So, I know Milan is I think 9 points with that game in hand, away from cracking Europe there. So it's not good enough. It's unfortunate. I think both teams, getting the new manager. You mentioned identity. I still don't think we have an identity for Milan either. It's crazy. We go, 1 game, we're on top of the world, and then everything falls apart. Then we win 3-1 against Real Madrid, everything comes crashing down. We beat Inter in the derby, it comes crashing down. So it's just not good enough. I think the consistency needs to be there. It's unfortunate that it's not. It's one of these things that I don't really know what it is. If it's mentally, if it's tactically, technically, whatever you want to label it as. I know many Milan fans are upset and really pissed off about how the season's going, and rightfully so. I think we do have the right to be pissed because I think we're miles off from where we kind of want to be, and maybe even where we should be. So 19 points after 13 matches, I think is the lowest in the last, I think, 5 odd years. So it's not good enough. There's no more excuses. I know, Nick, you like to say that for Juve as well. The excuses, the injuries, the this, the that. it's enough of those, and really you have to go out there and play the best ball. And unfortunately, in this matchup, it wasn't to be. And in many matchups throughout this season, I can speak for Milan, and I know Nick probably feels similar for Juve. It just hasn't been good enough. It hasn't been convincing. It hasn't been consistent. All the C's. It hasn't been any of those. So it just, Fonseca for me. I don't even know if it's to blame Fonseca. Honestly, these days, I don't even know if I should blame Fonseca or if I should blame upper management for bringing Fonseca in. It's like 1 week it's one week it's the other. So, for Milan fans, I'm with you. I'm pissed as well. We have to turn the page. It's unfortunate that we have to really go through these matchups and these sufferings, because listen, that just ruins a Saturday. That ruins a weekend, right? So it's unfortunate. And there's one thing, if I don't want to see again, is, and I know we will probably have to see him again, just for how fragile Calabria is. Emerson Royale is a fucking joke on the right back position. Like, I think any three of us here on the show could suit up and play better than him on that right flank, especially Gianni. I know wing back is his forte, his cup of tea. So if it be on the left or the position. Exactly, if it be on the left or the right, I know Gianni can slot in there, but Emerson Royale is shocking to me. It's a signing that I still don't understand. I wanted to try to understand the signing, in these first couple of matches of the season, and we're on match day 13, almost 20 games into the calendar year, with all competitions to be had there, and he still hasn't improved. He looks tired before he comes on. He looks tired when he starts. He doesn't look ready to go. It's just embarrassing. I think if there was one positive for Milan, it was probably that first 15 minutes. I would say they really try to put on the pressure on Juve, and it showed that Juve didn't have obviously a striker. I think that's another thing to maybe bring up, Nick. I don't know, but the loss of Vlahovic, and I know we criticize Vlahovic a lot on the show because he's not always up to his potential, and the price tag and all that stuff. But it showed that they didn't have Juve didn't have a striker, and shame on Milan for not capitalizing on that. It's I think they had who was it? Koop Miners playing as the false nine in this game, or was it Weah? No, it was Weah today. And
bro, Koop Miners is just playing false,
yeah.
What's Atalanta's return policy? Honestly, I know some stores are doing extended return policies through Christmas.
Yeah,
I don't know. We might have to call up Percassi there in Bergamo, because this is a shadow of himself, and we talk about it in our group chat. But DJ, this guy's
it's crazy.
He's not on the Atalanta juice anymore.
It doesn't look like the same player at all, and it's a shame, because again, this is a player that in Atalanta's recent seasons, I think all Serie A fans that really pay attention to the league has penciled him into maybe team of the season or one of the better midfielders in Serie A, especially attacking wise. He gets in there attacking, but this season under Motta at Juve, it's been, like you said, shadow of himself, and it's just I don't know if he knows his role. I don't know if they're playing him out of position. I don't know what it is, but it just is he mentally fragile? I don't know, but it's quite a shame. But again, it's more of a shame on Milan not taking advantage of a bit of a weaker Juventus. I don't think obviously I know their top 11 wasn't out there, but that's a shame on on Milan, and the lineup selection. Obviously Leao, Fonseca choosing obviously not to start Leao, and that seems to be a recurring theme. We saw it also yesterday as well in the Champions League. But it just overall, I think the biggest thing to say is it's more than just 1 point gain. It's really 2 points lost, and it's gonna be marked as a draw on the table. But for me, it's worse than that. It's a loss, and I think Milan needs to turn the page. They have a lot of catching up to do to try to get back into Champions League, because I don't think if they don't get back into Champions League, it's going to be one of these downward spirals that hopefully it won't take too long to get out of, but I can see it going pretty south pretty quick. So, we're hopeful and optimistic for more positive results to come. But yeah, it just not good enough and embarrassing, I guess, on both fronts.
Gianni, meanwhile, you're in your Derby del Giannino, officially known as Derby del Sol for the casuals. Napoli Roma this past week. I mean, look, me and Adri, our teams are pretty much in the same boats right now. Yes, Juve is ahead in terms of points, but Napoli's had top of the table. Roma's in 12th now. Opposite directions, and 1-0 win for Napoli. Probably not as big as people thought, right? I don't know if you had a chance to watch the game or even watch the highlights, but I know you always say, okay, when people ask, okay, who are you cheer for in these games? And you always say, whoever needs to win the most. It felt like Napoli needed to win the most to stay in first. So you probably were happy with that, right?
Well, essentially, yeah. Napoli's the one that's competing for top of Serie A right now. And especially with pretty much, doing a quick count here you can even count Juve into it. 5 teams that are right up their ass right now for that. I mean, I definitely do believe that Napoli needed to win more. And I always said, like, whichever team is competing for the Scudetto. And this year, Napoli's competing for the Scudetto. So why not, right? I would much rather they win versus Roma. But Roma themselves, it's crazy how much of a disarray they are. This game, they couldn't get like almost anything going. Pretty much, it was like, I think I have the number right here, 14 shots to 6. Like it was just total Napoli domination. It's Roma right now. They're just trying to survive. That's basically what their goal is. Their goal is to just remain in Serie A. I think ownership knows that any type of big competition's out the window right now, and they're doing their absolute greatest just to stay in Serie A, because right now it's trending downwards. They are basically 2 points away from, 3 points away being in a relegation spot. So, like if Como wins one game and Roma lose another one, they could just, swap. So it's getting bad. If you're a Romanista, you don't like seeing this. It's very worrisome, especially with the kind of roster that Roma can field. It just doesn't feel right. I don't know what's going on specifically. I think at this point it's like you're getting really close to pushing that big red button. I think at this point you're just getting close to pushing that big red button. Come summertime, I think you just really just clean up house, get rid of the people that don't want to be there. Really change the whole like sculpt the whole roster into a different look. Like you do some plastic surgery, so to speak, because what you have right now in terms of your core is not working. What you put together, the pieces that you put together don't fit. No matter how much you try, they're not fitting. No matter who you bring in, it just doesn't work. And Romanisti are pissed off, they have the total right to be pissed off, because it's last year. Like you had the opportunity to say, okay, there was injuries here and there. Tammy was out for the entire season. Dybala was also injured majority of the season. Lukaku, like he wasn't playing with people that he's used to playing and stuff. Like he had a lot of like things to say. Oh, this is why it didn't work out. That didn't. But now it's like, okay, well, what excuses do you have? What do you have? Like injuries, you might have some, but it's not like as if these are players that are like, okay, you feel them when they're not on the roster. Maybe Salamakers, but that's about it. That's the only player you can argue. LD Schmerda, as I like to call him, I don't think he's the type of player that you kind of miss out on when he's not around. So it's just if you're a Romanista, it's not looking good. Dark clouds. It's hopefully Ranieri can do something after the winter break. I mean, winter break is hard because you only get 1 month to kind of do anything. So we'll see when that time comes. Obviously for Napoli though, great game offensively. You peppered your opposition. You didn't score as much as you expected to, but it's still fine. You walk away with the W. That's what you care about. Some close chances, some great offensive pressure. Great. It's one of those games where it's like you get to see a demonstration of the chemistry of the team, and it's just you see like this was a good example of seeing two teams in different spots. Where before I said Roma is a team that really needs to like resculpt everything. Napoli's in a position where it's like they're identifying like their core is basically more or less being solidified again. Like besides some new additions that are been very crucial. Like McTominay has been very crucial. Lukaku obviously it goes without saying. Uh, Buongiorno. Like obviously these new pieces. You get yourself another top keeper, and like because Meret is just he's okay. But if you get Napoli another top keeper, and once they get back into European competition, they might have another chance of like being a seriously competitive team in Serie A. They might have like right now. This is just the benefit of just having one competition to worry about as well. Like people need to keep that in context. Like Napoli. That's why I'm saying like it's um like before I was like it's not a clear cut win that Napoli's going to win. Like it's not clear. They're doing very well, very, very well. I'm not taking that away from them. But if we're talking about, which team is the most definite team to win? Is my camera freeze? Am I still here? Do you guys hear me?
You're good. You're good.
Oh, okay, because my computer froze, and I'm like, oh no. But yeah, found my train of thought. Yeah, they're in first place, and you only have one competition to worry about, but they only have 20 goals scored. Atalanta's got 34, and they're nipping at them. It's
Holy shit.
Yeah, their goal differentials. Like, Napoli's only plus 11 for their goal differential. Everybody in the top 6, let's say, had the lowest is plus 14, and that's Juve. So that's saying a lot. Like I'm not saying like that's it's an insult towards Juve. I'm saying in the sense where it's like offensively, you're not producing. Thankfully, defensively, it's been great for them. The system works. The Conte ball works, where it's like you win those 1-0 games. Hey, you win a championship. I don't care. That's all that matters to me. I don't care if you win it 1-0 the whole way through. I mean, New Jersey Devils won 3 Stanley Cups playing the trap system. Bruins won their Stanley Cup playing counter trap. You know what I mean? Like it is what it is. I'd rather win a game 1-0 than win
Then tie 0-0.
than tie 0-0, right? Like
True.
I'd rather that, like I'd rather, anyways, before I keep on rinsing and repeating. So overall, is it sustainable? Very iffy, very iffy. If you look at Fiorentina and Lazio, they're on fire right now.
Mm-hmm.
They're killing it. Inter has slipped a bit, but I don't expect them to continue having a little bit of this trickle effect. And Atalanta has just been on fire. Like their Gasparini's men are playing as if they have a mission. They won Europa League last year. Now they're like, okay, next goal, let's win the Scudetto. And it's looking pretty good for them.
Yeah, guys, I actually, that was one thing is I thought we should talk about comparing Atalanta and Inter right now. I know, I know Napoli's first place, but it feels like the two hottest teams, because also they're getting the results done in Europe, is Inter and Atalanta. Yes, Atalanta won 6-1 in Champions League yesterday against Young Boys, and Inter was only 1-0 against Leipzig, but a win's a win. And they're two of the top teams in the Champions League table. I forget what the exact standings are, but like you said,
2-5, 2 and 5th,
second and 5. There you go. But like you said, Jenny, Inter, they had a lot of 1-goal games against Leipzig, against Napoli, against Arsenal, Venezia, but they didn't score 3 against Empoli at the end of October, 4 against Juve. They scored 5. They put 5 back against Verona, so their offense is kind of back. Atalanta, on the other hand, like I said, six goals against Young Boys, 3 against Parma, 2 against Udinese, 2 against Stuttgart, and they put 3 past Napoli in that big win at the beginning of the month. The last time they were held to a clean sheet was against Celtic in October 23rd. And overall on the season, they've scored 1 goal or less. It seems like about 3-4 times in all competitions, which is just crazy. They're high-powered machine. It seems like every year we talk about Atalanta, we're like, okay, maybe they won't be as good this year. They lost a couple pieces this year. They actually didn't really lose that many players besides Scamacca with his injury. It's not like they sold a lot of players. They actually went out and bought players, and that's what's for me. I think that's what's the difference. You look at Inter, they just kept consistency. They had a Scudetto winning team last year. They got a couple of depth pieces here and there, but overall they just kept that squad consistent. So it's interesting to see what happens when you actually build your cores together. But for Atalanta, obviously the biggest one is adding Retegui. I don't know how many goals he's had on the season, but a lot. Just seems like he's scoring all the time. Between these two, it's almost like in college football they do power rankings, right? They do, top 25 rankings. If we had to do a rankings right now, who would be number one in the Serie A? We're not talking about standings. We're talking about how good and powerful the team is, because I'm not convinced Napoli is that true number one power team that I know, like Johnny just said. So for me, it is between Atalanta and Inter. And if you guys had to do a rankings, where would they rank?
It's a good question. And also just to add on, to Inter's, stats there, they haven't conceded a goal in Europe. In Champions League, they haven't conceded a goal. I mean, they're right now in second place overall on the table after match day 5. There's 3 games to go. Atalanta's in 5th, like we said just before, but haven't conceded a goal in Europe in 5 games. I don't care what format it is. It pains me to say as a Milanista, but it's impressive. It's something to take note of. Not conceding anything in Europe is crazy. But in terms of Serie A, I don't know. For me, it's close. Obviously, I regardless of what we say and what we do, I'm still sticking to Napoli winning the Scudetto from our preview episode for the season. But currently, I don't know. I'm gonna say Atalanta. I'm gonna go Atalanta just because they did. To your point, Nick, I think they did. Obviously, their biggest loss was Coop Miners to Juve. I mean, for them, the Atalanta Coop Miners, like we said earlier, was on another level. The one at Juve is a different story, but them losing him was huge. But again, it funded what we're seeing on the pitch now. I think losing your striker in Scamacca, who had a great season last year, losing him and like I said, I don't know how many episodes ago, instantly flipping to say, oh my God, we're going to go grab Retegui from Genoa. And he's he's top in the Capocannoniere race. I think it's like 14 goals. I don't know if it's 4. I forget if it's, is it 14 goals or
I'll let you
in
know
all competitions? He has
12.
12. No, sorry, it can't be. He has 12 in Serie A alone, I'm pretty
12
sure.
in Serie A.
Yeah,
So
he's at 12. The next closest in Serie A is Turama 9, and Ken also 9. And then Lookman at 7.
Yeah. But in all competitions, he has 17, 18? What is it?
I'm looking right now.
Okay, anyways, look that up. But it's just crazy. So I think they've added pieces. They're trying to establish that core.
Yeah, he's got 14 goals in.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's only 14. Okay, sorry, I thought it was more.
14 goals, 14 goals, 3 assists in all competitions so far.
Okay, so there you go. So 17 points in all comps. For getting his first Champions League goal yesterday as well. So it's I don't know. Gasperini has his team on fire. It's no discredit to what Inter's doing, because I think obviously, they're one of the better teams in Serie A. That's clear. But I think if you want to do current power rankings, a la college football, a la League Corso, all that stuff, I'm going to go Atalanta. They look like the hotter team, and I think just as a core, it seems to be working. Pretty much week in, week out. They might have that slump. They might have that hiccup, but they find a way. That's pretty much what it is. They find a way to get it done. Their attack seems to be lethal. It's incredible. Retegui, De Catalare, Lukman. It doesn't really matter who it is. It's whoever's having their game. It doesn't really matter. One's gonna step up if the other one doesn't, or they all step up, or however it is. They're there. So I'm gonna go Atalanta, but it's close. It's close for me. Inter's, unfortunately, a really strong team, and they're doing a lot of things right, and they're even having the season that they're having with, some of their top players going through dips. Lautaro kind of maybe having a bit of a dip, but his teammates find a way to get that 1-0 result, or to smash a team in 1 week or another. So it's close. And even the coaches, if you want to break down to the head-to-head to the coaches, Gasperini versus Inzaghi, again, that's close for me. I think Gasperini for me still edges him a bit. If we're talking about just currently, I would say Gasperini just edges Inzaghi. But if you want to go the distance with that, maybe it would be the other way around. But currently, I'm sticking on the Atalanta train, and for as long as it's powering and chugging away, I guess we'll have to jump on it. You guys?
I think it's pretty straightforward. I'm not gonna reinvent the wheel here and say I do agree that it's Atalanta 1, Inter 2, in my personal opinion. But one team I do want to mention for third place, I think deserves a shout out is Fiorentina. I think right now, as of now, Fiorentina is probably the third best team in Serie A in terms of like performance and whatnot. What was the last time? Let's see here. Looking at them, I know they won their last 5 games.
Hot
But
take from Johnny.
yeah, but what a surprise, right? But I think the thing that we
Exactly.
need to focus on is that they only have 10 goals against. That's third best in the
Defense,
league,
solid.
right?
Yeah.
That's first is Juve with only 7,
Mhm.
Napoli second with 9, and Fiorentina is third place with 10. Not much of it. Not they're not far off from being the best defensive team. So I'm clicking the recent form. Let's see here results. I know it's 5 in Serie A. They lost in the conference league, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They're undefeated in their last 10, going 9-1 so far in Serie A. 9-0-1 in their last 10 in Serie A. That's something to. It's not something to scoff at. That's something to really pay attention to, and that's why I would put them at third. And we were talking about like players like Moise Kean just being like rejuvenated on that roster. Like
Big time.
which has been very good. We talked about it last week, and I think he's been a big cause of that. So first place, 100% Atalanta, dominant offensively. They're firing on all cylinders. They have confidence. They know who they are. Inter second because it's Inter. Inter has just been this well-oiled machine for the past 4 seasons since they won their 19th Scudetto, right? They've always been that threatening of a team, and they haven't dipped since. And then they won their 20th. And then third place as of now, in terms of power rankings, would have to be basically Fiorentina in my eyes. That's what I would go with.
I didn't give a top 3. I would throw in.
I'm just saying, because we all know what first and second is. So instead of like repeating what you said, because you brought up amazing points, I'm not going to regurgitate. I'm not just going to repeat what you said. I'm going to throw in an additional thing about saying Fiorentina. That's why I wasn't trying to say top 3.
And that's a good point because I would even throw in Lazio in that conversation. Lazio, under the radar, they don't get enough credit, I don't think. Or enough noise in terms of talking points, by people in Serie A. But Baroni has something going on in Rome, and it seems to be working. They're really picking up steam. I don't think they started off the season maybe the best, but as of late they've been amazing to watch, getting results. Their players, talk about a team that really went through losing top players and filling in the voids and getting results. I think it's Lazio currently. So if I want to throw in a third team and kind of, because I like how Johnny did that in the top 3 there, I would even throw in Lazio in there, just as another name to highlight, because they're playing incredible football, and it's a bit of a shock because I honestly don't think many people would have thought Lazio would be where they are currently at this point of the season, and I don't think many people would have thought that Baroni was going to pull the strings as he's been doing as of late. So it's a credit to them. It's a credit to upper management to go maybe that money ball route, but it seems to be working for them, unlike for Milan. But I don't just want to throw in Lazio in there because getting results and competing in Serie A, and I believe they're first in Europa League, if I'm not mistaken, too. in that competition. So under the radar, flying under the radar, but definitely deserves a shout out.
I mean, right now, statistically, the standings are so tight, 29, 28, 28, 28, 28. That's 5 teams. But for me, I'd still put Inter ahead of Atalanta solely based on the fact that they're coming off the Scudetto season. They have the better players. They have the better depth. So in terms of just overall a team, I think Inter just slightly ahead of Atalanta. Right now
it's close. It's close.
If you're talking about the hottest teams, I'd say Atalanta, and that's where even Fiorentina comes in. But in terms of just overall team strength and just how powerful they are, just how what's the best way to put it? I guess you could say how scared their opponents are heading in every week. But you could say that with Atalanta, with any of these top teams, right? But Inter for me, they just take the lead there. Sorry, but I'd put Napoli third, to be honest. Fiorentina, they're a good team. Lazio, they're a good team. But again, I'm gonna Napoli just based on the coaching, based on the players that they have, based on the depth. Like they're in first place. And it seemed like I know Gianni just talked about it, how it's not convincing just yet, but hey, they're getting the job done, and not the prettiest fashion. This is what Juve did for almost 9 years, or at least 6 years or whatever it was under Allegri during their 9-year Scudetto run. But no, it's interesting because when you talk about just power rankings, American style, there's a million different opinions, right? Like as long as you don't put Como first, you're probably not wrong.
Hey.
It's okay, Johnny. You're gonna one that misses of your Nostradamus predictions. It's okay.
I said if you put Como first, you didn't put Como first. You put Como 10th. That's fine.
It'll happen one day. You'll see.